Here's a thought. When disaster strikes, the time to prepare has passed. Stephen Syros. Welcome in. Well, it was the talk of the hockey rink this week. The story I know you heard of the senior men's league in Newmarket, Ontario, that was struck by COVID, causing the death of an otherwise healthy 75-year-old Gary Weston. I read the descriptions of this much loved and appreciated man, and my heart goes out to his family, community, and of course his teammates. But I could also relate to the words being said about him. Except for the age difference, they could have been writing about my Rob. Also double vaxxed, he plays with different men's and mixed leagues. Now, breakthrough COVID is something we try hard not to think about as we go on with our lives, carefully of course, and await our booster shot, but it shook his fellow players right down to their skate guards. Something else happened in Rob's hockey community a few weeks back that could easily have also ended in an obituary. But thanks to this brush, some changes have been made, and they're all for the better. See, Rob plays now 4 mornings a week. He was even offered a 5th, and he may take it when our work schedules settle down a bit. Thank goodness that in these leagues and many others, goalies who are much in demand play for free, or we'd be selling something like, I don't know, goalie equipment? Kidding, Rob, sort of. So Rob's in his net, and he notices a commotion on the bench. What was it? A man who's 61 was sitting chatting with a fellow player, and he stops talking mid-sentence and just slumps over. Now, I don't know what kind of horseshoes this guy who was joining them for the first time had tucked in his pads, but the guy he was talking to is a doctor of sports medicine. Wow. The only way he could have been luckier is if his fellow player was a cardiologist, because I'm sure there's probably one of those who plays with them too. This doctor knew exactly what to do. Fortunately, so did the staff at Panorama Rink, just down the hill from us here in North Saanich. There are 4 defibrillators in the rink, and one of them was put to use to bring him back to life. After manual efforts were proving fruitless, his heart had stopped. It was that serious. In about 10 to 15 minutes, the ambulance took the player to the hospital where he was operated on and is recovering with a new stent in his heart. It looks like he's going to be okay. But how did they contact his wife? They found his cell phone and found her, hopefully in his ICE contacts. And in this case, that doesn't mean ice of the skating variety. It was actually in case of emergency. The fact was, she was able to tell those caring for him about his family medical history and such, which helped them to get him what he needed, which was in this case, breathing again. But it raised a few concerns and some ideas. Because of this man's emergency, players recognized they didn't have contacts for their spouses or people to call if something happened. And stuff does happen. With their median age around 65, things can go wrong in the health of men and women who play with Rob. Now, fellow players know who to call and notify. I mean, no one would have known to call me had that been Rob needing life-saving measures. On a side note, Colin was off school that day and we were thinking of going to watch Granddude play. Luckily, we didn't, because if we'd pulled up and seen those ambulances and such, I would have needed a defibrillator. So here's the point. If they're out and about, just make sure your loved one has your name and contact info readily available. Be able to be reached just in case, because none of this thinks this is ever going to happen, but it does. And no one wants the line, "He died doing what he loved," in their obituary. No thanks. Let's all go into overtime, shall we? Thank you for coming by, and I'll be back with a new journal for you on Monday.